So y'all already know the title. You got Jasmine Crockett sitting on late night television talking about how a whole lot of Republicans don't actually like Trump. They just too scared to say it out loud. That's the claim. What comes after is a series of moments that test whether the people making the loudest accusations can survive their own standard. We're not doing theory today. We're doing actual footage. First up, Jasmine Crockett.
Republicans are very performative, specifically in this moment, right? Like, a lot of them don't like Donald Trump, but they too afraid to say so. So, you know, in general, they're just like, I got to do what I got to do to stay in this seat and to keep my family away from all the minions that may come after them if I go against Trump.
Right. Mitch McConnell, dead or alive? Or somewhere in between? We're just going to play this game.
So my theory is that, like, maybe even half of the Senate is already dead anyway. I mean, when you think about, like, they are old, like old,
yes,
right?
yes.
Like old,
yeah,
like I mean, so,
decrepit,
yeah. So I wonder. I'd be like, what y'all doing over on that side? Republicans are.
So she paints the picture of secret meetings and quiet dislike. Like the real position is hidden in the back room, and the public one is just survival. Interesting framing. Because the same people who demand absolute loyalty from their side suddenly discover the virtue of private doubt when it's convenient. If fear of your own voters is the reason you stay quiet, that says more about voters than the politicians. If the voters are the problem, maybe stop asking why they keep choosing the same man. Now, watch what happens when someone tries to move the goalposts. You know, they love doing that. They're trying to move it on crime.
Question number one is a lot of the cities with the most crime in the country are led by Republicans. This is not just a Democratic city problem. So the president doesn't talk about those, but there are a lot around the country in that list of murders, violent crimes that are Republican-led. Number two, I've lived in Washington since 2006, in the Washington, D.C. area and in Washington itself. Of course, we should have fewer carjackings, fewer crime. I believe that. You don't put a federal agent checkpoint on 14th Street in Washington, D.C., which is what happened last night. That is not the locus of crime in Washington, D.C. That's where, you know, senators and congresspeople and people that work in the White House go to dinner. They put a federal checkpoint on 14th Street and stopped every car. That is not actually addressing the crime problem in Washington. So while I hope they make Washington safer, I hope they make all of these places safer. That's not how to do it. That's performative. And the third point I would make, as a Washingtonian for many decades, is that it is very rich to say we are going to charge the sandwich thrower with a felony. When I was there on January 6th, and all of those people that assaulted police officers got pardoned, not just the nonviolent ones, not just the ones that went into the Capitol, everyone, including the ones that went after police officers, got pardoned. So don't tell me we care, that this administration cares about protecting police officers when they did not care about those on January 6th.
Respectfully, can we just stay?
But they got pardoned. No, those were police officers, Emily, and they got pardoned.
I want to talk about D.C. for a second.
But that was in D.C. That was in D.C. Those were D.C. police officers.
Can I just start with the fact checking on what you said?
Those were D.C. police officers that got assaulted.
The top 10 cities for murder in 2025, St. Louis, Missouri. Who's leading it?
Where's cities like Memphis,
Hold on. Memphis is second. You said
Memphis.
Nashville's
you said a vast majority, a lot of.
I said a lot
those
of.
were okay. Top 10.
Okay.
St. Louis, Memphis. One for your column. Baltimore, Detroit, New Orleans, Little Rock.
Right.
Two for your column. Two out of the 10.
Who's the mayor of New Orleans?
Okay, listen. Oakland.
That one that was in first class headed to France.
Oakland.
That got
Cleveland,
corruption charges.
Cleveland,
Tacoma, and Kansas City.
So how many of those are red states? Ohio's a red state.
Not the city.
Kansas is a red
Majority
state.
mayor of the city.
You're talking about the cities,
You
right?
were talking about the city. I'm just listening to what you said.
Paris, I said cities that are red. Some of those are, and almost all of those are in states that are led by Republicans.
But who's in charge of the city?
The city runs their criminal justice system.
No, not
Furthermore, that's their
entirely.
duty. The district attorney is the one who makes the call as to what's going to be prosecuted.
The president was right.
You know, watching these clips makes me realize I need to work on my emotional impulses when I'm in disagreement personally. That's something candid I would like to share with y'all. So I think I might deep dive into how to continue to regulate and mature when I'm I mean, I would like to think I do a pretty good job, but when I see interactions like this, I'm going, you don't shut up. Marie Harf says a lot of the highest crime cities are led by Republicans. But, Harris don't argue the feelings. She just starts reading the list. St. Louis, Memphis, Baltimore, Detroit, like she said, New Orleans, Cleveland, all of them under Democratic mayors. The deflection to, but the state is red, is a classic move. City leadership is where the policing budget, the prosecution priorities, and the actual body count live. When the numbers don't match the story gets rewritten around the numbers, and that's not analysis at all. That's good old damage control. But different subject, same habit of selective memory.
With the WNBA, what was that one girl that came out? Cunningham? Is that her name?
Yeah, Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah, I like her because she actually stood on business. She wasn't scared of getting the backlash from people, But that's the most I heard about all that. I ain't for all that, and I hope that doesn't happen. But the way things is going, you just never know. So
Angel Reese said that she was growing up, and I think something to the effect that she didn't see black Barbie dolls when she was growing up. Is this true or false? Can you give me some insight on that?
That's false. Her mom ain't buy her no Barbies because I had black Barbies. And my favorite Barbie was, first of all, it was Scary Spice from Spice World. But yeah, I stayed with black Barbies. Used to be able to hold the little bottle, and black Barbie dolls. Holiday Barbies. They had black princesses, all that. I don't know where Angel Reese was at. Her mama must not brought her no Barbies. And my mom's actually in this chat right now. Mom, will you tell them you brought me black Barbies before?
Shout out to Mama.
That's Miss Marion in the comments.
Miss Marion?
But yeah, that's why my mom said false, because I stayed with Barbies.
Yeah, that was pretty weird to me as well. Angel Reese says she didn't grow up seeing dolls that look like her. Then a black woman who actually lived that childhood sits down and says the complete opposite. Black Barbies existed. Black princess dolls existed as well. They were on shelves. When the claim of total balance becomes more useful than a record, the records gets treated like an inconvenience. Representation is real. Erasing the parts that already existed so the new product can feel more necessary is something else entirely. Now, the temperature, it jumps.
Being a hateful person, she's a liar as well. You know damn right well what that was. She wasn't playing the ball. She took an opportunity to take a shot at someone based on the color of their skin and their belief system, which I thought in America we were against. And it just so happens that she did it against a white person. And for some reason in this country, it has become fashionable to be racist against white people and get a pass. The actions alone should be a suspension. The comments after that should be expulsion. If I was to do that to an athlete and then afterwards say privilege or something like that, or was rude to you on a network and said the only reason why they kicked me off the network because of white privilege, I'd be fired. So I think she should be fired. But the WNBA has become a league of hate. And if there's a European league out there, I would start reaching out to some of these women who just want to play basketball and live their lives. It's just it's a bad league. The government should look into, because the entire league is funded by a men's league, ironically. Yeah. Maybe cut off funding and let them, since they really only want a certain type of person in that league, and they should fund themselves.
So all of this is really.
Oh wow, man! This right here is just insane. So Dejanay Carrington hit Sophie Cunningham in the head and neck. We know that. She got ejected. Then we know she posted the white privilege tag in the other team. And Tyson, he didn't dance around it. He calls the action what it was and says the follow-up post should end careers in a serious league. Physical contact happens in sport. Turning the contact into a racial statement after a choice that you made? Come on, man. And once that choice is made, every future horror file from that player is going to be read through the same lens. The cost of, that's really just the cost of bringing racing in the middle of a play that already had a clear foul call. Yeah. But the media tries to manage the conversation next.
Royce White and Mr. Cantor have drawn. Yeah, they've drawn in the WNBA and trans athletes into a controversy that neither side asked for. This was not a controversy that the WNBA was currently wrestling with. This was not a controversy that trans athletes, at least to any sort of public knowledge, were fighting or dealing with respect to getting into the WNBA. And so now you have the WNBA put in a position where they may have to be under the spotlight and answer questions for an issue that they weren't actively dealing with at this time because of two quasi-pranksters.
But y'all, some could push back and argue on Sophie Cunningham and the heat that she took because she talked about supporting girls and preventing, trans athletes from competing against naturally born females. She pointed that out as a player for the Indiana Fever, and she received backlash from that. And then you had the coach for the Minnesota Lynx comes out, in a game the next time she's playing now a televised game against the Indiana Fever and Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. And the Indiana Fever obviously is incredibly popular because of Caitlin Clark in terms of the notoriety she brings. And you have the coach wearing, she's for trans kids belong shirt. So some would argue that whereas from a legal standpoint, like you're pointing out, the league in an official capacity hasn't had to really deal with this problem, address this problem. There are individuals within the league that have taken their position that has drawn attention from the national audience out there. And in a roundabout way, they could easily be accused of actually bringing this issue to the forefront because of those actions.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's very roundabout.
Okay, so Charles Coleman tells Stephen A. that two former NBA players forced the transgender eligibility conversation on the WNBA that the league never asked for. Stephen A. brings up Sophie Cunningham speaking up for female athletes and a Minnesota coach wearing a Trans Kids Belong shirt in a national, in a national televised game, bro, against the Fever. You can't claim the issue is externally forced while people inside the league are already taking public positions. Like, the spotlight doesn't appear out of nowhere. It followed the signals the league itself was sending. Okay, so this is the last one. The coach who stopped performing
will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell. This is more for an online community that's trying to create narratives that simply don't exist. Trying to create a fabrication or distortion of who I am, of what I'm about. Our players' success, our players' health and wellness, our players' safety is always a top priority for me. One of the things I pride myself on is my relationships with players. For those who have anything to say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time. They know that. It's a shame that we can't have an opportunity to talk about what great basketball they're playing. Because they are f***ing playing. The reality is, with me, I will always lead with love. I will always lead with grace. I will always lead with humility. And I will always lead with integrity. Doesn't mean I'll always get it right. I'm also human. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. It won't win. We are united. We are connected. We will not be divided. Every day these women put their on the line. Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win. Grace will win. humility will win, and kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
Stephanie White sits down and says the quad online pile on is fabricating who she is. She admits the foul looked egregious. You know, once she saw the replay, you know, then she draws the line. She rides with her players and everybody else can just go to hell. It's not polished. It's not focus grouped. That's the coach deciding that protecting a locker room matters more than managing the reaction online. And whether you agree with every word or not, the refusal to keep performing for strangers is rare enough to notice. So 6 different moments, one common thread. When the numbers don't match the narrative gets adjusted. When a product history doesn't match the claim, the history gets soft-pedaled, if anything, right? When the physical play gets radicalized, the racial statement becomes the new subject. When people inside the league take positions, outsiders get blamed for creating a conversation. And when the coach finally stops managing the optics, the internet treats it like a crisis. None of this requires a conspiracy. It only requires the habit of protecting the preferred story, even when this footage is sitting right there. Now, you can disagree with the conclusions. You can't unwash the clips. So I want you to drop the word loyalty in the comments if you sat all the way through this thing. And something I'm going to leave you with. I've been stuck on Hosea and Isaiah and Jeremiah this month, as you guys can see. So I'm going to use the Hosea 4 and 6 one, which is, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Be safe. Go check on somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.